Hey everyone, just want to quickly announce up top that I have a new Patreon page at patreon.com/livedtotell. For $2 a month, you get ad-free episodes and access to a private community. For $4 a month, you get all of that plus extended video of my guests and a newsletter. Everyone loves a newsletter. And for $6 a month, you get all of that plus a bonus episode. A whole extra episode just for $6 a month. Please subscribe. Thanks. Cool. Well, how are you today?
That I'm alive.
Great.
Yeah, I'm enjoying being alive.
In 2009, when Nicholas Iwamoto was 22 years old, he had just decided to join the Army Reserves.
See, I was an active 22-year-old. I was going to school. I worked part-time. Yeah, I was enjoying life, but I didn't feel like I had the discipline and the direction that I needed to thrive. So I decided, you know what? I think it's time to join the military.
Nicholas's family had a long history of military service, but he had some concerns about his heart.
Well, I deal with stress, anxiety. I have OCD, and people talk about OCD like it's some like fun, quirky thing. It's not. Those that have actually been diagnosed with it know that it's torture. So I had pretty severe OCD, especially when it came to my health. So I was very worried about my heart, and I had been to doctors, and they said, "Yeah, your heart's okay. You get palpitations sometimes, but your heart is okay." I passed the Army physical. So the plan was to hike the steepest mountain that I could hike. So my thought process was, okay, I'm going to hike this mountain. If I have a heart attack, then it means that I was not meant to enlist. And then if I don't have a heart attack, then I'm ready to go. I will raise my right hand and I'll enlist. That's what led me to Cocoa Crater that day.
Can you describe Cocoa Crater?
It's difficult to describe. If you Google it, you'll see it's very striking and unusual looking. It's this giant crater right on the edge of the ocean, right next to Hanama Bay, a famous snorkeling place. And I think it was used by the U.S. military during World War II for storage. I don't know all the details, but basically it's a 1,500-foot train track that just goes straight up. It is very, very steep, especially the last couple hundred feet. You have to be in really good shape to make it to the top, and then also to get down. So basically, it's a very intense way to test your body.
So Nicholas went to the crater, and while the hike was strenuous, he didn't have a heart attack. What did happen to him was so much worse. This is Live to Tell, the podcast where I talk to some of the bravest people who have been through the most horrifying things and lived to tell the tale. I'm Caitlin Van Mall.
As soon as I got to the top, I started feeling the heart palpitations. It scared the living daylights out of me. So I took my headphones off. I leaned down just to catch my breath because I was just exhausted, and I was terrified because what I was worried about happening was actually happening. The palpitations. So I thought, oh no, this isn't good. So while I was trying to catch my breath, I see a very large shirtless individual push a guy. I had no idea he had stabbed him, and that man ran down the crater. So the attacker approached me, and he said, "You set me up." I said, "What are you talking about?" And he looks at me again. He's like, "You set me up." And I thought, holy crap, this is not good. My heart was probably beating at 200 beats per minute, like its maximum rate. I was exhausted. I barely knew what was going on. And I didn't know he had a knife in his hand until it was in my left lung. So he stabbed my left lung, then he stabbed my liver, and then he stabbed my diaphragm. It all happened so fast. I didn't have a chance to even catch my breath, and all of a sudden I'm getting butchered like an animal. I turned around to try to get away from him, and I tripped on a rock, and that's when he jumped on top of me and proceeded to stab me as fast as he could, as many times as he could, and he targeted my face and my neck and my eyes. He tried to stab me in the eye. And I held out my hand and I tried to block the blows as best I could. My right fingers were almost cut off. Like the two tendons in my right hand were severed. He stabbed me in the head 6 times. And because he stabbed me in the head, an artery in my left temple got severed. So blood was squirting onto his face. So I could see the blood squirting from my head into his eyes while this is happening.
Nicholas was sure this was it for him.
And a lot goes through your head, when you realize you're about to die. My first thought was, yeah, I shouldn't have hiked this mountain. That was a mistake. Then I proceeded to think about, my family and knowing that I would never see them again and that he took away my right to say goodbye. And I kept thinking, when I die, what's he going to do to me? And the most distressing thing that I thought during that moment was that the realization that his eyes are going to be the last thing I see on this earth. So I thought, okay, you know what? Yeah, it looks like this is the end for me, but I am not going down without a fight. I've got one chance. So I reached out and I grabbed his crotch as hard as I could and I squeezed with every fiber of my being. And that saved my life. I know I caused him pain because I could see the expression in his face change, while he was stabbing me. That is the last I remember of the attack because he got mad and he pushed me off a cliff. Evidently, I was near the edge of a cliff and he pushed me off of it and I fell 100 feet. So it was a 30-foot vertical fall and then 70 feet of rolling. I came to rest at the edge of another cliff, a really big cliff. This one was probably 500 feet. I'm just guessing, but basically, if I fell off of the second cliff, that would have been the end of me. What stopped me from falling off the second cliff was an old rusty car frame. I don't know how odd that sounds, but so my ankle was pinned under it, and it broke my ankle, but it also is probably the reason I didn't fall off the second cliff.
Before he was pushed off the cliff, Nicholas had been knocked unconscious.
I was unconscious for approximately a half an hour, and then I woke up. And I was waiting for the coup de grace. I was like, where is he? Where did he go? He's obviously wants to finish me off. He couldn't get down to me. He wanted to. I remember him screaming things at me.
So when you woke up, you could still hear him screaming?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
So I yelled help as loud as I could. But because my left lung was punctured, there was a hole in it. So whenever I opened my mouth and made a sound, blood squirted out of the hole in my left lung. So I thought, oh, holy crap, I can't even yell for help. Every time I open my mouth, blood is squirting out of the hole in my left lung. Blood was just pouring out of my mouth, and not red blood, but it was black. So I was just waiting there, hoping he wasn't gonna come finish me off, but knowing that this is probably the end. And then I heard a woman's voice saying, we see you, we hear you, help is on the way. Just stay there. And I thought, okay, well, you don't have to worry about me staying there. I'm not going anywhere. But I thought, wow, that I might have a chance. But then I didn't hear from her again. So I thought he had gotten to her and I thought he had stabbed her to death. And then I saw a helicopter and I thought, okay, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, my angel is here to save me. This might be a rescue helicopter sent to save my life. And then it flew right past me. I thought, nope, that is probably the weatherman doing the weather. It turns out they were there for me. They got the other victim first. So 2 sisters were hiking that day. They ran into the first man who got stabbed. That man didn't know he had gotten stabbed at first. And then those 2 ladies said, sir, like, you're bleeding. He looks at his back. He's like, oh my God, I got stabbed. He said, don't go up there. There's a guy. He's probably stabbing someone else right now. These 2 ladies kept hiking to the top of the crater to try to find me.
After the other injured man was airlifted out, his name was Guy Tanaka, help arrived for Nicholas.
They rescued Guy first, and he was in a basket. I was too critical to be put into a basket, so they held on to me. And so, like, I was dangling from a rope, like 2,000 feet in the air, and they gently guided me down onto a baseball field and then put me from the baseball field into the ambulance. And this is all very hazy. I remember, bits and pieces. I remember being, of course, very cold and very things appeared very white. I only remember one part of the ambulance ride. Of course, my concern was my heart. I remember asking the paramedic, I said, did I get stabbed in the heart? And he's like, no, buddy, you got stabbed almost everywhere else. We're doing our best. And to me, that was great news. Like, that was a spark of hope I needed. I knew I had a chance.
Once that was settled, Nicholas had a second important question that needed to be answered.
And then I remember asking them who won the Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and I wanted Kurt Warner to win.
Kurt Warner and the Arizona Cardinals were facing the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And then again, when I asked them who won the Super Bowl, they told me, like, we're really busy right now. We can't tell you. But they did tell me who won. They said, yeah, the Steelers won. And then, of course, I was devastated. And that's when my airway collapsed.
Oh.
And that is the last memory I have from that day.
But doctors kept working on his many injuries.
Once my airway collapsed, I thought that was my death because they knocked me out. Thank goodness they had done the MRI before my airway collapsed. They knew I had a broken neck. So they could not do a standard intubation. So they had to do a tracheotomy. So I was out for probably like 24 hours roughly. They did a lot of work on me during that time. They cut my stomach open. They explored, see the damage. They put chest tubes in me into both lungs. They gave me, I think, 4 units of blood. I mean, my list of injuries is like longer than War and Peace. Everything was broken.
When Nicholas woke up the next day, his family was by his side.
I mean, it was so good to wake up next to my family, and I couldn't speak for 2 weeks, so I had to write everything. But my right hand was in a cast because, they had operated to repair the tendons, so I had to write with my left hand, and my left hand was also damaged from defensive wounds, so it looked like chicken scratch, but I had to communicate with my family somehow, so I did my best. I told them several times that I loved them, and my family was, surrounding my bed, and everyone was crying, and it looked like they were like looking at a dead person, and it was really sad. And then I looked at my mom, and I'll try to get through this without breaking down. But right, it's my mom, so it's hard not to. So I see my mom, and she has tears, in her eyes. She said, she's like, Nicholas, I love you from the bottom of my heart. And one tear rolled down my cheek, but I couldn't wipe it away because I couldn't move. At that moment, I was thought to myself, like, you can't die. Like, your mom loves you. Like, you gotta keep fighting.
An unfortunate part of having that much damage to his lungs was all the buildup of blood, phlegm, and rocks.
I had, pneumonia in both lungs, and I was coughing up blood all day, every day for 2 weeks. And then the container that they hold the sputum in, or whatever the word is, was right next to my head. I mean, I wish they put it somewhere else, but I looked over and I could see it, and I could see little rocks that had gotten into my lungs from when I had gotten stabbed and thrown off the cliff. So whenever I coughed, they had to take out the oxygen machine, and then they put a vacuum inside the hole in my throat to suck everything out. And that's what happened to me every day for 2 weeks. It was torture. It was torture, but I'm grateful for them. They kept me alive.
After being cooped up in the hospital for days on end, he finally got to go outside.
I would call it the most significant moment of my entire life. It was the beginning of week 2. So they decided to wheel me out into the courtyard so I could, be out in the air and experience sunlight.
Are you on the ventilator at this point?
Yeah, I was still on the ventilator. Okay. So I still couldn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
So they wheel me out to the courtyard and then they leave. So it's like I have my own moment, right? I have this moment to myself, and the sun was out and birds were chirping and the leaves were rustling, and the most vivid part about that moment was feeling the sun touching my skin. Like it felt so good. It was the best feeling of my whole life, to feel the sun on my skin after I had been in a cold and dark hospital room for like 10 days. It felt so good. It was the first time in my life where I told myself, okay, Nick, if you make it through this, remember this moment. Remember that this is the good times. Because as we get older and things are going bad, we tell ourselves, I wish I knew when the good times were happening, right? I wish I knew how good things were when it was happening. So that moment, it changed my whole outlook on life. The sun hitting my skin was like, it's like my mind lit up, and it was basically my mind's way of telling me, like, hey, Nick, you're going to make it. Dude, you are going to make it through this. Like, you've got this.
There's obviously this moment, but I imagine it wasn't like a switch flipped and you're just like Mr. Positivity.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, you're right. There were still some very hard times.
Yeah. Can you talk about sort of that conflict in your mind of like, this sucks, but I'm trying to be positive, but also like, ow,
Yeah. No, I never really told myself this sucks or anything like that, because I was so shocked that I was still alive. It came down to gratitude. That's why I didn't ask for more drugs. That's why I didn't complain about my pain. It's all about gratitude. Gratitude got me through everything.
19-year-old Benjamin Davis was found naked in a tree hours after he attacked Guy and Nicholas. He was arrested, but Davis had injuries of his own that needed to be treated.
My biggest fear was where is he? My fear was that he was going to find me and unplug, all the machines.
Yeah, when did you find out what happened to him?
So he had to be hospitalized because he had injuries himself. I think he actually was being treated at the same hospital. I don't know where. But basically, the gist was like, you're not in any danger. He's not going to get to you.
Before Nicholas was in stable condition, police needed him to identify his attacker.
The lineup was on day 2.
So is it like a photo array?
A photo lineup,
Okay.
Yes. So I'm almost dead, but had to pick out my attacker.
Yeah, well, because you're almost dead. They need the evidence.
Yeah.
How did it feel to see his face?
You're going to think I'm very neurotic once again. So I narrowed it down to 2 guys. And mind you, I have to write all of this down on a piece of paper, and it's barely legible. So this is what I told the detective. I said, "Detective, I've read many recollections of victims who identified the wrong person because they were in distress during the police lineups. I don't want to send someone to prison for life for choosing the wrong guy." The detective was like, "Just pick someone." So like I said, I narrowed it down to 2 guys, and he pointed to my attacker and he said, "So you're saying it's that guy?" And I said, yeah. Did I get it right? He's like, "Yeah." At the end of the day, I know that sounds strange.
Well,
but
so like he picked for you of the 2 guys?
Yeah, basically. But see, here's the thing. It wouldn't have mattered because everyone, he admitted doing it.
Right.
Everyone knew he did it.
We'll be right back. Nicholas was slowly but surely improving in the hospital. He could walk a little further each day, but breathing was still a big hurdle.
I was close to getting sent home. I was off of oxygen, but then it started to hurt to take a breath in my right lung, and I was getting short of breath. So they gave me an X-ray. They said, yeah, I had a pleural effusion in my right lung.
What does a pleural effusion? What does that mean?
It means you have fluid in your lungs.
Oh.
So they put a 3rd chest tube in to drain the fluid out, and I was awake for that. That was not a pleasant experience. And she said, when we do this, don't be surprised if you have a hard time breathing and you cough up blood after we do this. So I thought, oh, that's a little bit ominous.
Yeah. And this is supposed to be helpful?
Yeah. So she said, do you want pain meds for this? And I said, well, are there any risk if you give me pain meds? And she said, well, yes. She neglected to tell me I had been on those pain meds every day, all day for 2 weeks. So I declined it. I wish she had told me, yeah, you're already on this. We're basically just going to give you more. So she didn't tell me that. So I had the procedure without pain meds. And yeah, that was pretty horrible.
Can you describe how they put that in?
Yeah, it's they use a laser to guide a tube into your lung, and they just drain out fluid. So they took out 900 cc's of the fluid in a few minutes.
That's almost 4 cups or 30 ounces of blood.
And right when that happened, just like she said, I got extremely short of breath. I could hardly breathe. And then I started coughing up a lot of blood. She's like, don't worry, you'll be okay. I was like, okay, thank you. But I wish she would have just given me those pain meds.
We'll be right back. After a month in the hospital, you'd think Nicholas would want to get the heck out of there.
And then something happened the day before I was going to be sent home. A woman got stabbed to death. Her name was Asa Yamashita, and I think about her all the time. I mean, because it feels like our stories are linked. She was just sitting on a bench in a shopping center eating lunch, and a man went to the store, bought a kitchen knife, and stabbed her to death. She bled to death on the floor of a hair salon. I heard the news. I remember my nurse saying, "Aren't you so excited you're going home tomorrow?" I was like, no, I don't want to go home. I did not want to go home. I wanted to stay in the hospital for multiple reasons.
What were they?
Well, I didn't want to get stabbed again. I mean, Asa getting stabbed to death, that shook me to my core. And people say horrible things about hospitals and their time in hospitals, right? But I actually enjoyed my time there. I mean, under the circumstances, I had to lay there and survive, right? It was hard, but you press a button and then a nurse comes and does whatever you tell them to or ask them to. But the thing about hospitals is they don't want you to be there. Like, they want you to leave. But I would have stayed there for months if I could have. But yeah, they were like, yeah, you're better. Time to go home.
But he did go home. And as terrible as this sounds, the timing of his attack worked out. So he would have a caregiver.
So that ended up being my mom. So she was living in San Jose and then was going to move back to Hawaii on February 2nd for her retirement. I got stabbed February 1st. So my mom, her golden years, she should be enjoying her retirement, and then she finds out her son has been brutalized. So yeah, my mom was my caretaker, and the studio apartment that she got was already outfitted for a handicapped person. Thank goodness. It worked out perfectly.
Wow.
So had that studio not been outfitted for a handicapped person, I would have had to go to live in like a rehab facility for a few months to do physical therapy.
But that home would be where he was for a long time.
I spent a lot of time in isolation. I would say about 4 years in my bedroom.
Wow.
Because I found out I had to have an neck surgery in July of 2009. Okay, so 6 months after the attack, I was doing great. And then I found out my neck, the fracture had become unstable. So they told me if I fell or hit my head really hard, I could be paralyzed or die. So I had to have surgery. That was devastating. That was such a big setback. So yeah, I went back to the hospital, had surgery. I had 4 screws and a plate to keep my neck stable, and went home. And yeah, I was in my room for about 4 years.
Wow.
Just being a hermit. But in that time, that's when I learned to knit.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent time reading, watching documentaries, and basically learning as much as I could about the world.
Mm-hmm. Was that isolation self-imposed?
No, that's a good question. No, I never lacked support, ever. When I left the hospital, I knew that the rest of my life would be marked by a lot of physical and mental pain. And I accepted that as the price I paid for my survival. But still, it was a challenge to experience that. So it's not as if I didn't ever leave the house. I just wasn't the life of the party that sometimes I had been before. A lot of it was just the shock of what happened and, PTSD. I didn't acknowledge I had PTSD until about 6 years after the attack. I swore I didn't have it. But yeah, I definitely, of course I have it. How could I not?
Did you ever go to therapy at all?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge advocate of mental therapy. Yes, big time.
Mm-hmm. When did you start seeing a therapist?
Since before I got hurt. So I had always I've benefited from therapy, mental and physical, for most of my life. So yeah, I've never had an issue with speaking out about that. The issues I've had they prepared me to get hurt. So I was ready for it, the anxiety, the OCD. I mean, of course, it's unfortunate that it happened to me, but I think I was well equipped to deal with something like that.
is that feeling of, because I've been in therapy for so long, I have already like a bunch of tools to deal with something like this, why you were reluctant to admit to yourself even that you had the PTSD?
I think it's because I was doing so well, or thought I was, that I was reluctant to admit it. But the clue to tell me that I had PTSD was that, like, whenever I saw something like someone that looked like my attacker, or loud noises, or arguments, or, you know, someone getting stabbed on TV, I had a very, you know, of course, an instant visceral response. So that's when I realized, okay, I probably do have PTSD. I mean, there's nothing wrong with admitting that.
While he was handling his PTSD, his attacker's trial was starting.
The assumption was that my attacker would be in prison for the rest of his life because he tried to kill 2 people. So the law in Hawaii is if you try to kill 2 people, you know, more than one person in the same event, it goes from 2nd-degree attempted murder to 1st-degree attempted murder. And that carries a possible life sentence. So I thought, okay, good, he's going to be locked up for life. I knew about the insanity defense. I just didn't think he was going to be successful with it.
Friends told newspapers that Davis had started acting bizarrely 4 days before the attack, saying things like the government was out to get him and they were listening to him through his cell phone. After his arrest, he was examined by 3 different mental health experts who agreed that he suffered from a paranoid psychosis at the time of the attack and shouldn't be held legally responsible for his actions that day. Davis told the mental health experts that he believed Guy Tanaka and Nicholas were working together because they were both Japanese, and that they were going to try to kill him.
My mom and I went to meet with the prosecutor, and here we are thinking he's going to be in prison for life. And this is when they inform us, yeah, we've made a deal with the defense. He's actually going to be acquitted because of temporary insanity. And I was like, are you kidding me? He tried to murder 2 people because they're Japanese. He's going to get acquitted? That was just an absolute shock. I knew there was going to be a hearing. I just didn't think it would be his acquittal. I thought it would be a trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, am I going to be like talking to him? And they said, yeah, if you want, but it's not going to make a difference. They were not encouraging me to put up a fight, really. I got the impression they wanted this to go away as quickly as possible. The theory being that, you know, this happened in a state that depends on tourism and in an area that depends on tourism. That kind of thing does not look good.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I guess I'm just not going to talk to him then. And my mom put her foot down. Thank God for my mom. She's like, oh, no, you're not. You are going to speak to that man. And you're going to tell him what he did to you and to our lives. This is your only chance. And this is your chance to talk to the people of Hawaii and to the world. And you tell him what he did to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if you're smart, you do what your mom tells you to do. So I was like, okay, Mom, I will address him. So I spoke. My victim's advocate, I did have one. She did a good job. She was there for me. Like I said, the prosecution, they just wanted this to go away as fast as possible. And you know what? That was such a terrible feeling for me and my mom. I wanted someone to fight for us.
Yeah.
So I went on the stand and I said exactly what happened. That part was not hard at all because, you know, I got a pretty solid memory. I just told the people what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And none of this mattered anyway because he was getting acquitted. This was all basically a formality. But then once my job on the stand was over, then it got a little more challenging because I went back to the floor and I addressed him personally and I stared at him. Again, I stared him down. And then I broke down crying. I made it real clear what he did to me. I told him I had no hatred for anyone in his family. I had no beef with anyone. I told him that when he wakes up, I want to be the first thing that he thinks about. When he writes his rap songs about nonviolence, he was an up-and-coming rapper who rapped about nonviolence, I am not kidding, that I want him to think about what he did to me. And then when he goes to sleep, I want him to think about what he did to me. So I said what I had to say, and I am so glad I listened to my mom, because had I not used my chance to address him, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Did he react at any point to anything you said?
He apologized when he got his chance to speak. And like, I know he was insane. I saw it in his eyes. But why did he choose 2 Japanese people?
Davis was ordered into the custody of the state health director at the Hawaii State Hospital, where he would receive psychiatric treatment.
2012 was a difficult year because that's when we found out on the news that he was petitioning the judge to go to college without security guards. My mom saw his face on the news, and has not been the same person ever since. She has PTSD because of that. Not because of my stabbing, but because she had to see him on the news and no one warned us. So that changed her in a terrible way, and it changed me. But to see, what my mom has been through because of what my attacker did to me, that's way more upsetting to me than what he did to me. I don't have an issue with the insanity defense. I have an issue with him being free and him being allowed to go to college unescorted just 3 years after trying to murder 2 people in the most violent way imaginable. I mean, that's like the most despicable betrayal of justice you could possibly imagine. My anger simmered down eventually, and I don't I want to make it clear that I don't have hatred for him. I hope he gets the help he needs. I hope he doesn't hurt anyone else. I know he was sick, but the crappy thing is, if I was not Asian, I would not have gotten attacked. And people didn't really discuss that. That was, of course, I mean, it's a touchy subject, obviously, right? But it seems like that just sort of got swept under the rug.
That same year, Nicholas was improving so much, he was ready to get back to work. Until that was all dashed in an instant.
I had made pretty great progress in rebuilding my life, and I got hired at a restaurant that I'd wanted to work at for a long time. A great restaurant, Japanese restaurant. 20 minutes after I got hired at that job, I got rear-ended at a stoplight.
Oof.
The driver was rubbernecking a motorcycle cop that had just pulled someone over. She ran into me going probably like 40 miles an hour. And yeah, that was pretty devastating. That one hurt a lot. So no more work at that place I was going to work at. No more of that.
Nicholas didn't break anything in the accident, but his pain did get a lot worse. It was really a major setback for him. But he did eventually find a good, steady job at a fine art gallery where the owners really supported him. Then in 2016, Nicholas was dealt another blow.
In 2016, I was informed that my attacker would be released and, begin the process of transitioning to going home, for good.
How did you find out?
They called me. One of the biggest issues I had with the state was that they didn't tell us in 2012 that he was going to school. That was, to this day, I cannot imagine how something like that could be allowed to happen.
Well, let me ask how you feel about rehabilitation.
I became involved in restorative justice programs, and I'm a fan of, people getting second chances under the right circumstances, of course. But public safety comes before someone getting a second chance when they tried to kill 2 people, under a psychotic break. I'm not a a hateful person. And if I was, I would not be alive. I would not have made it this far. As long as you have more love than anger, that's okay.
I do want to go back and talk a little bit more about your attacker and sort of how you feel about what justice would look like in your perfect scenario.
For it, if I was the judge and jury, he would be institutionalized for life. Let him go to school, let him get his degree and get the help he needs and stay in the institution. The threat to public safety is too great. What if he gets triggered again by some Japanese people? Because he thought Japanese men wearing blue were government agents and were going to kill him. That's what he admitted. I know he was insane, which is why I don't think he should be in prison. Right? He should be treated humanely. He should have all the health care, all the education that he needs in a facility where no one can be hurt. So in 2016, once I found out he would be released, I wrote like an open letter to the people of Hawaii. And that's when I became involved in Marcy's Law for Hawaii.
Marcy's Law is a victim's bill of rights that ensures those affected by crimes have the same level of rights as those accused. The bill includes provisions that make sure the victim of a crime is treated with respect and fairness and informed of court proceedings, including the perpetrator's release.
Someone reached out to me and said, hey, we'd like you to be involved in this. So they flew me to Oahu. I testified before the House and Senate. I spared no details. I told them everything. And it passed several rounds of hearings. But someone killed it before it could get to the governor's desk to be signed. I don't know who. I don't know exactly what happened. But yeah, so it did not pass in Hawaii. But the relationships I made through Marcy's Law, I mean, changed my life. Survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, family members, murder victims. I can, because of the, ferocity of my attack, I can relate to almost everyone.
It was through the relationships he made fighting for Marcy's Law that he met someone very special.
It's how I met my wife.
Yeah, tell me how you met her.
So through one of my awesome friends from Marcy's Law, she went to boarding school with this woman. So basically, we had a mutual friend. So I wasn't just some random guy off the internet, right? Which that can be like really, that can be a little bit iffy, right? A little bit sketchy. There's some weirdos out there. So I thought, I need to send this lady a message. I thought, what better way than to send an article about my story, right? Now, that article about my story just happened to be written by another lady from Marcy's Law. Like I said, it changed my life.
Yeah.
So I messaged Britt. I sent her my story, and it shocked her. So we became friends, and the plan was she's going to make a documentary about my attack and, my story. And then life happened for both of us. She experienced loss after loss after loss over the years, as did I. My life unraveled in 2020.
In 2020, Nicholas started to notice some odd changes in his body.
I noticed that my fat started disappearing from my body in 2020. It started in my hands and my feet, and then it started just spreading upwards. And it was a nuisance at the first. Like my hands, they lost all their fat. So like opening doors became painful, doing dishes became painful. Holding a golf club hurt. I mean, one of my proudest things is that I became a better golfer after my stabbing than I was before. Like, imagine that. I hope that inspires the crap out of you listeners out there.
But his mysterious loss of fat just kept going.
So the fat loss just started working its way up, and then it reached my rear end, my butt. Like, you're losing the fat on your butt? Like, why don't you just eat a cheeseburger? I say, dude, I've tried that. Like, I wish I could just eat a cheeseburger. It's not that simple. Life changed completely when the sitting pain started. Once I lost the fat on my butt, I couldn't sit down without severe pain because I'm sitting on bones. Imagine how shocking that is to one day sit down and just feel agonizing pain.
Yeah.
Every moment you sit or lay on your back. So that changed my life in the worst way. Those were the darkest years of my life. 2020 to 2023. It made my stabbing look like a walk in the park. I just couldn't believe that I could go through something so violent and horrific as my attack and, overcome it and build a pretty awesome life for myself. And then it all just gets wiped away from this like evil thing that's like eating my body.
Nicholas eventually found out he had lipodystrophy, a condition where there's abnormal loss of fat in certain parts of the body.
Lipodystrophy is an extremely rare, extremely rare. The form that I think I have, a couple hundred people on Earth have it. Formally, my diagnosis is only partial lipodystrophy, but where you still keep some of the fat on your body, but the fat loss is happening everywhere on my body. So I think it's going to be generalized, meaning all over, but I still have some fat left. That's why I don't have the serious metabolic issues yet. I do have some metabolic issues like liver disease, and that comes and goes. I get it monitored. But lipodystrophy, basically it destroys your fat cells. And instead of fat getting stored under your adipose tissue, fat infiltrates your organs and your organs fail. Yeah, so it's deadly and it completely changes your appearance. I mean, imagine you, Caitlin, losing your face. Like, it's hard to see you lose your face. It's a very, I like my face. I don't want to lose it. It seems superficial, but your face, it's a very big part of one's identity, right?
Yeah.
And I liked my face more after I got attacked because I'm very proud of every scar I have. So I had like a chubby Asian face before, and now it's a lot skinnier, and eventually I will have no fat left.
Do you know how long that process?
No, it's happened pretty slowly, thank goodness.
Okay.
Right, and it's not a terminal disease, but it is deadly. So I don't think about years from now. It's just day by day.
Not being able to sit comfortably was a huge roadblock in being with Britt, the woman he met through his Marcy's Law friends. Nicholas was still in Hawaii, and Britt lived in Ohio, a 23-hour multi-stop flight away.
Our lives were both very challenging, and we figured we can't take care of ourselves, but we can take care of each other, and that's what we've done. And I came here in April of 2024. We got married May 28th of last year, so our first anniversary was a couple days ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So
Had you met in person before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I had met her twice before. Twice was enough. I mean, we knew each other. I mean, we were friends for years. And she's the reason I'm alive. Were it not for this woman, well, I stay alive for all my loved ones. My mom, my siblings, my cousins, everyone. But this woman, were it not for her, I would have checked out a long time ago. But she got me to stick around because as friends, we were so close that I would not leave this world unless she was by my side. So when I tell you that she saved my life, that's what I mean.
Yeah. In addition to his wife, Nicholas has very specific things that have kept him positive.
It's three things that keep me on this earth,
Mhm.
and 3 things that keep me from just going bonkers. I believe God spared me for a reason, and God has a plan for me and a plan for all of us. I was blessed with a second chance at life that many people were not blessed with. So how awful would it be if I were to just give up? The second reason is that I think I was sent to this world to help others, and I mean all of us were. Like we were all sent here to help each other, and I know that no matter what I endure, I can help a lot of people. And it seems like the harder my situation gets, the more people I can help. Because the more people I can reach, right? Because once the health issues started, I could reach even more people. And the third reason, and this is, probably the most impactful, is this: that like every time that I have spent on this earth since I looked into my attacker's eyes has been a bonus. Right? This is all extra time for me. This is all a second act that most people would not be fortunate enough to get.
Mhm.
This is all just extra credit for me. And I'm so fortunate to be here. So when the pain is too much and I can't take it anymore, I remind myself how lucky I am to be here and what I accomplished in my second life. And, what I did with my brain after he tried to stab it.
Nicholas has always leaned on knitting as a pastime and coping mechanism. And now, it's how he makes a living.
I sell what I make, like my beanies. I interact with people on like Facebook, Instagram, that helps. And I spend as much time with my wife as I can, and she's making beeswax candles. So we've got a thing going where I will sell my beanies and she will sell her beeswax candles, and we're gonna just see what happens.
Yeah.
And our plan is to drive our story. It is, when I think about what Britt and I have experienced separately, but also what we've experienced together, it's a pretty powerful love story. Like we do want to publish everything to an actual physical book, and print it out else, right? But right now I'm writing the story of my life on Facebook and Instagram. So I would encourage the listeners to check it out. I ask people to try to sum up their own lives in one sentence. Like, if you had something written on your tombstone and you could do it in one sentence, what would it be? I know what mine would be. I can make people laugh, cry, and think all at the same time.
This is Live to Tell. I'm Caitlin Van Mall. You can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at Live to Tell Podcast. And you can follow me at Caitlin Van Mall. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. It really helps. You can also join me over on Patreon, where we have a community chat, extended videos, and bonus episodes. That's patreon.com/livedtotell. I'll see you in 2 weeks.